Welcome to the Butt Fixer Podcast, brought to you by Shane Gentry and John Van Olden. Sit back, listen up, and listen good. You're going to hear it all right because we've already done it all wrong. We're going to help you meet your goals and fix your butts. Welcome to the Butt Fixer Podcast. Oh, live.
All right. It's on. We're ready.
What's up, y'all?
Hey.
Welcome to the Butt Fixer Podcast. Very special edition. We've got a workhorse on our podcast today. As a person I have a lot of respect for, I want to introduce Jacklyn Phillips here with Action Vet Tech Services. Thanks for coming on and hanging out with us.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, we've spent a lot of time together. We've done 7, 8, 10 vet dinners for the NCVMA. We've done all kinds of things, networking with veterinarians, and it's been a lot of time for us to get to know each other. And the reason I wanted to bring you on is because you got a great story. I mean, you've gone from being a vet tech to being a successful vet tech staffing service. I mean, that's pretty amazing.
Thank you.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about, let's go back to the beginning. I mean, what got you started in that? And also what what are some of the things that carved your path into being an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I still, identifying with that entrepreneur term is still difficult for me, but I guess here I am. That's what
yes,
I
you
have
are.
become.
That is.
So I've been a RVT for nearly 20 years. So RVT is a Registered Veterinary Technician. And that varies by state. Like some are CVTs or LVTs. Basically means we have a degree in veterinary technology, and we are licensed in our state. We are licensed nationally. So I've been in the clinical field for many years. And most of my career was in emergency and critical care, which I loved. And yeah, kind of like the chaos, the unpredictability. I thrive well in that kind of energy. It is gratifying in the sense of, being able to save some lives and work quickly, work in teams, work independently as well. So overnights were often one technician, one doctor. So
wow.
I learned a lot in that kind of role too.
Right.
And then I burned out clinically, like a lot of technicians do.
What's the average lifespan of before burnout hits for somebody in that position?
Oh man, I feel like that gets smaller and smaller. Like some people are burning out after like 5 years.
Wow.
But I was like year 16 was kind of where I was at, and it was just where I had to make a decision. Like money was a big thing too, right? Like vet techs don't make a lot, and we worked really, really hard. So I went into sales, medical device sales. I sold EO gas sterilizers, which is a company that is North Carolina based. Okay. And large percent, over 70% of their clientele is veterinarians. Okay. So, I speak the language of, veterinary clinics, but I didn't know about those sterilizers. They trained me, and I did really well in that, but I struggled. So I made the money that I wanted to make. That was kind of my goal, was like, get out of clinics, make better money for myself and my future. And, but it didn't fill my soul. I'm not very good at sales in that sense of down your throat, like you need this, you have to have this product, and let me make sure you have to have it. It's more, I like being a resource, I like educating, and I'll help you out. And then I connected with a startup company who had been in business for 5 years doing endoscopy and laparoscopic, but bringing that into like general practice veterinarians. And I begged him for a job for 6 months. He didn't have any employees. And so we worked up an agreement where, I was his first employee, and I worked with him, and I helped him with sales and equipment and installations and a lot of the training. So I kind of saw that as an opportunity. I missed being in clinics. I missed the medicine and everything with that. So I worked with him for about 6 months, and I saw that as like an opportunity to be both back in clinical space and use my vet tech skills
There you
by
go.
helping train doctors and train staff on how to use this equipment, but also hopefully making the money that I can in sales to
Right.
have that balance. It was not my forever job.
Right.
So then I was kind of at this position of, first time in my career first time in my adult life that I did not have a job. But I had a nice commission check at the end of that term. And it was like, is this where people travel the world and go soul searching? But that's not really my jam. So I did some odd jobs. Like I helped a friend's brother with his landscaping company. I did some pet sitting. Like I didn't really sit still, but it was kind of a time where I was like, what am I doing? Like, where's my passion? Like, what do I want to do? And so how I ended up here was that I went back to my passion of being a veterinary technician. I love
where did that come from? Like, where when you were young, when you were a kid, were you around animals all the time? Were your parents avid? Where did the fire for the critters come? Like, where did that happen?
My family, I grew up showing horses. I grew up having barn cats, and we had dogs, and especially my mom's side of the family, very much animal lovers. So I grew up with that. I didn't necessarily think that I was going to fall into veterinary medicine. I was actually a massage therapist right out of high school.
Okay.
I went.
I learned something new. I didn't even know that.
I was certified in massage therapy. I had a very strong passion for like holistics and naturopathic healing and a strong curiosity for those things. And they had a program that if you went through their next level, their deep tissue certification, that qualifies you to do work on animals. So that was kind of the path I was going to. But after I graduated from the Swedish massage, I was 19 years old. I was not mature enough to take this on as a career. Like I was so worried about like, where's the next party,
Right. So I might be guilty of that myself.
Yeah. So to take that career path seriously was not really in that timeline. However, I connected with a veterinarian that needed somebody that knew how to handle a horse. A large percentage of his business was racehorses.
Okay.
So I grew up with horses. I know my way around a horse, and that's how I fell into veterinary medicine.
That's pretty cool.
So I was an assistant for about 4 years before I went to school. And decided,
tell me about that too, because like when it comes to the school, like the difference between an RVT and the vet, like what is the difference in the amount or I don't even know what the right word is, the concentration of education that, like, where's the gap between RVT and DVM? Like how do you bridge that? Like how close are they?
Most technicians have an associate's, which is a 2-year. Some technicians go on to get their bachelor's, so a 4-year. But veterinarians have 8 years. So they have their pre-vet, and then between the next level of their clinical rotations and everything else, it's an 8-year.
Because it seems like the techs take up a lot. I mean, vets obviously do their job too, but it seems like your position in the vet's office is, you're doing a lot. It's almost everything except the vet exam. We
are not allowed to diagnose, prescribe, or do surgery.
That was my very next question. Like, what is the definition of the difference there?
Yeah. Well, what's the difference then? Is there a difference then between an RVT and just like a vet tech? Like my son just started in Tennessee as a vet tech, but he didn't. He's learning on the job. He didn't go for a 2-year degree or anything. At least not yet. Now of course he's got the fever, so he wants to go to veterinarian school and everything.
Very good. That's awesome.
But I don't So how does that work?
So this has been a conversation that's been highlighted a lot on the difference between a vet tech and a vet assistant. And some states, like North Carolina, has a title protection. Like no one can be called a vet tech unless you are an RVT. So unless you have that degree that you went to school. So in that case, so for your son who is working on the job, he is a veterinary assistant.
Veterinary assistant. Okay.
Yeah. So so there's plenty of on the job. Like I was an on the job trained veterinary assistant for 4 years before I went to school.
Okay.
And it was a matter of limitations, right? I was working in a clinic where, you know, there was years where I worked in clinics and they let me do everything that a licensed vet tech would do. So there was really, I get it. Like there's no reason, like why would I go to school if I'm able to do the same job as somebody who paid to go to school? But then I worked in a clinic that had different standards and they're like, nope, only our veterinary technicians run anesthesia. And I was like, oh, well, that's it. I don't want to limit myself to doing more. I hate school.
So it's in or by title, really, yeah. But like a veterinary assistant, there's no rule that says a veterinary assistant. Okay, of course they can't do surgery, they can't prescribe, and that kind of thing. But they also can do a lot of the same work and a lot of the same things that the RVTs do. Is that right?
Yes. So that varies again by state laws and the Practice Act and how they're written, and also the practice that they're working in and the standards that they have. There are lots of clinics that have 0 licensed technicians.
Okay. Interesting.
It's kind of like in our business, like with dog training, like the term behaviorist.
Yeah.
You know, that's the one, that's like our version of tech versus assistant, because like anybody that uses the term behaviorist has to have DVM behind that. Like it's strictly reserved. Like, so when trainers use terms like behaviorist without the DVM, it's a red flag. And 2, it's just because either they didn't do the research to know that term cannot be used without DVM, you know, that's strictly reserved for them. So it's kind of like our difference between tech and, you know, assistant is trainer and behaviorist.
Trainers are also, I mean, the industry is by and large self-policed. I mean, there's no, there are no, I don't know of any state laws in any state that say, oh, you can't call yourself a behavior specialist or whatever, or even a dog trainer, unless you go to the school or unless you pass this course, unless you do whatever. So we're complete. I mean, it's still the Wild West after 30 years for me of people.
Are you in an earthquake over there, John?
No, what happened?
Your strings going ding 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 ding.
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to have a seizure or what.
Yeah. Good thing you don't hear that part. We don't want our seven followers might have a seizure on YouTube. Yeah. So okay, sorry, I interrupted. So go ahead.
Yeah, no, there's the enforcement of those things too, right? Right. Know, even if there are things that are in writing or laws that exist, like who's actually enforcing those things? But I would say it is. I think it contributes to our burnout, and part of why when I created the company, I exclusively make it for licensed technicians only. Okay. And not that I'm discrediting assistants, on the job trained assistants at all, but I wanted a place for technicians to feel preserved and, valued in that sense of, this is where I've preserved your value and I pay you what you're worth and you can choose where you work and when you work, and like an alternate career path so we don't lose them, because we're losing a lot of great licensed technicians. Yeah. They're upset, that on the job trained assistants that have, been in the field for 2-3 years are being paid the same as they are, sometimes more. So there's an unfairness in some ways, not everywhere, but it does contribute to the burnout.
Okay.
Makes sense. Is the burnout is it the emotional roller coaster of all the stuff that you have to see every day, or is it just sheer hours, or both? I mean, like where does because I mean, it's a big deal in the vet industry. I mean, there's even organizations for what's the high. I think one of the highest suicide rates are veterinarians, if I'm not mistaken, right? Or I don't know if it's the highest, but it's up there in the professions. For
sure. I mean, veterinarians, especially, like the amount of debt that they come out of school with is insane, right? Like I have a friend that's like, I'm $500,000 in debt, right out of school.
Out of
And
school.
and then you, and then you go as a new doctor, like there's a lot of mentorship that still needs to happen, right? Like you don't just come out of school and know everything you're doing. There's clinical, practical things that have to happen that you're still learning, but the mentorship isn't there a lot of times. So have a lot of high expectations as a new grad and not a lot of support. So I think that's part of it. But I think there are entities that have really put effort into helping those things. So it's getting better. For technicians, I'm kind of a hard ass where it's like you choose your path. You choose your stress. And so in that, so I most people may not agree with that, but I do. On that sense of the job that you have and how
it's pretty profound. Those choose your stress. I mean, because that's a we could unpack that one statement for an hour. I mean, there's a lot there.
Do you want to spend day to day worried about Susie's boyfriend? Like, who cares?
Right.
Like I'm here to work on this dog and this cat and get through the day and do great things for patient care. So I think that comes with maturity and professionalism and lessons through life. But I don't think everybody has that mindset. There's a lot of kind of victim mindset, or the grass is greener. And even working as a relief technician myself, as I started the company, in meeting so many different teams and working in so many different cultures, and people open up to you and they will dump on you.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
And they will tell you all of their issues with the place that they work. And I remind them, the grass isn't greener. Like everywhere you go, somebody's going to be upset with management.
This is the second time I've been able to say this on this podcast. The grass is always greener where you water it.
Yeah.
That's fair. But yeah, I think empowering people to be mindful of themselves and what they can change about themselves to have a better work environment.
Yeah. So it is not. It doesn't sound like the burnout is really at all with the actual work that they're doing, or like Shane said. I mean, I run into in my business, I am. Every day, I get 2 or 3 people contacting me that want to get into the business. And a lot of them started by wanting to be veterinarians, and then they go to work in a hospital while they're going to school or whatever, and they can't handle the blood. They can't handle the physical, the suffering. I hear all the time, to see animals suffer, it's so difficult. Sure, they're there to help them, but they can't handle the, that part of the job. But what you're saying is what I'm hearing is the burnout really is just work burnout. It's just like the workplace, the work environment of that particular environment. Is that it? That could be any job, right? That doesn't necessarily mean in a veterinary hospital, though. So it's just burning out on the same thing. Yeah,
no doubt, culture matters. The people that you work with matter. If the doctors are mistreating you or talking down to you every day, like that's a thing. And again, like you have a choice to have a conversation with that person and be like, when you say this, it makes me feel a certain way, or you hold it inside and then every day you have anxiety that just builds and builds, and or you make a decision that this is not the culture I want to work in, so you find a better culture. I think to your point of like the type of work that you're doing, myself coming from emergency for so many years, absolutely, like emergency is challenging, especially I remember working a Christmas day that my shift was only 8 hours and I went to the freezer 9 times.
Oh, wow.
With a body, like for whatever reason, the euthanasias are higher on certain holidays. Like it was definitely a thing. So
wow.
That will take an emotional toll on you. I also can speak for myself in the sense of when I go to work, especially in an emergency clinic, like I'm emotionally prepared for those things. It's like a separation, right? Like, of course, I have empathy for those clients and those pet owners and, the patient that's going through whatever they're going through. But I'm also in the mentality of the steps that it takes to fix it or to make it better. So it's an emotional shift, I think, where you're kind of in that troubleshooting mode of making it better or advocating for that patient, versus, oh my God, this animal's dying and I feel terrible.
So there's got to be a degree of detachment that that it takes. Yeah, I got you.
Do you, and I'm sure this is up to the individual, but I mean, like after a shift like that, I mean, is it next week you kind of get around to feeling those feelings? Do you go home and deal with it right then, so it's not on your plate anymore? Or do you just build this, fortress of, you can't bother me, I'm on the job, I'm going to save as many as I can. We know we can't save them all. I mean.
Yeah, I think it's a individual and a kind of a subjective shift by shift. Like there have definitely been shifts where I, have asked my teammates to step outside.
Right.
Because that stress. So that becomes an awareness thing, a personal awareness of like what your threshold is.
Right.
Being aware of, how you're processing everything that's going on. Because it can be chaos. It can be, a lot of things like going down all at once. And, you might be in the moment, you might be in that damage control, but when the dust settles, the emotions of that kind of settle too, and then how you handle that. So sometimes it is on the job where if you need to step away for 5 minutes to go take some air, do that and communicate with your team, because everybody's going to support that versus boiling over.
Yeah.
But other times it is, a matter of, how do you cope outside of the workspace in finding those things that help your mental, physical, emotional health outside of work.
Do you have anything that you go to for that? Like, is it a workout? Is it a go home and eat a pint of ice cream? What is it? Like, what's your decompression process like after something like that?
I've always been a gym rat. So, even when I was working third shifts, I would get off at 7 or 8 in the morning and just go straight to the gym. And I was always amazed at how amazing my workouts. Like, you would think I would be exhausted working overnight for, 10, 12 hours and then go to the gym. Like, I was always amazed at how stellar my workouts were at that time. Personally, I'm a gym rat. I love being outside too. So anytime I can get on a hiking trail or get on the water, get on the lake is good for me. But that's my maintenance. So, I think there's something to be said about that chemical balance in your brain where you're maintaining yourself, and that brings more awareness to when you're in those moments.
Mm-hmm. Now with today, obviously I've
also eaten my feelings. Don't let me
it's hard to get away from. I think that's a universal, Yes. So like today, this day and age, this is such a topic in lots of different professions. Are like, for instance, we just did a couple of therapy dogs that are employed by the state here in North Carolina, and they are for the Wake County EMS workers, not to go out and do therapy like at the assisted living home or that kind of thing. It's they are employees at the EMS station in Wake County, where when the EMS workers go out and they have their version of what we're talking about with dogs and cats of other humans, they sit down with the dogs when they come back from those calls and are set aside in a private area with the dogs to just kind of like process, chill, spend some time with the dog and relax. Like it's therapy for the actual EMS workers, not for the general public kind of thing.
That's cool.
Is there anything like, and we've got a couple of therapy dogs that live in funeral homes now. We've got 2 different funeral homes where we've trained dogs to stay in that. And, so if you come in and you do your service, you have the option to have the dog in there to pet and relax and decompress. But with those types of things that are happening in the human world, in line with what we're talking about now for vets and vet staff, are there any processes in place? Are there any like you're saying, you could go take the time if you need it, but is there any like protocol that says, okay, you need to go chill the fuck out for a minute? like like forced chill out, reset.
Yeah. Not. I'm trying to think of anything that I've seen recently, and not like that I've necessarily seen. I know that there's been, kind of like communication boxes on, putting your feelings in a box, or whatever was going on, or giving kudos to someone and putting that in there. But I can't think of anything that's necessarily, I guess, academia and some like big hospitals have social workers on staff.
Oh wow!
And two parts of,
really?
I think they're able
for the staff.
To
social workers for the staff.
Well, kind of to take some burden off of the staff in a way of dealing with clients, and the emotional turmoil of clients is big, and we as technicians and veterinarians as doctors become psychologists sometimes because of the emotional processes that pet owners are going through to process the disease that their pet has, or the surgery that their pet has, and then making decisions on things. So social workers in the hospitals, I think, that's been really profound. And I know that those social workers have also been able to be there to counsel the staff when there have been things that come up too. Okay. So it takes some burden off of those of us that have veterinary degrees and not psychology degrees, right?
Right.
That managers are often having to do that too. So I think that is noteworthy.
Yeah, that is definitely.
My brain is racing now already. Wow. I'm in my mind right now. I'm thinking, hey, Shane, we could start a like every business could use a therapy dog. Like Tom's kitchen business, you got a dog in the kitchen, so the cooks don't kill each other.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Yeah. So now I'm interested. Okay, so we went off on a huge tangent on vet tech burnout and education, right? But where I'm trying to get my head wrapped around. I think I have a general idea of what you're doing now, but yeah, I want to hear kind of the rest of it.
Oh, the staffing.
Yeah. So
so in my time of what am I going to do with myself? Went back to my passion of I loved veterinary medicine. I loved patient care, but I didn't want to work for anybody.
You're in the right podcast.
So, yeah.
And I didn't want to commit to a clinic. I was kind of insecure about that commitment of what if this isn't really where I'm going, but this is what I want to do right now. So I went down the path of being an independent contractor. I knew about relief doctors and how that has been widely acceptable, but I had never really heard of relief technicians. And so that brought me to a state of why doesn't this exist? I'm sure there are just as much of a demand for, filling in holes of the staffing versus just filling in the doctors. And I had a lot of connections. I've lived in North Carolina for 12 years now. So I had a lot of connections with different hospitals, and I was able to create an LLC so that I could be an independent contractor. And so I made some offerings to some clinics like, hey, if you have shifts that need to be filled, here's what I'm doing. I had, a legal document written up of, everything. And I was able to get my feet in the door, and literally word of mouth spread like wildfire on what I was doing. And I quickly, just word of mouth, people from different clinics in different areas were calling me to come fill their shifts.
That's awesome. And but you created that yourself from out of, did you have was there any pattern other than relief vets that you had? You said that nobody was doing RVTs as relief RVTs.
Yeah, I found a lady in Washington State, in my research of relief veterinary technicians. There's a lady in Washington State. I called her, and because I saw her website that she was doing exactly what I had in mind. And I asked her if she would consult with me, and she did. I paid her for a consult, and she shared, she'd been doing it for 20 years. She's the OG of this. And she shared with me her business model. I reached out to other relief veterinarian companies that I appreciated their business model, and they, were happy to consult with me. And those veterinarian companies, a couple of them even told me, we tried the vet tech thing; it doesn't work. I was like, okay.
Okay, why doesn't it work? What was the
Well, I didn't take that for an answer.
Sure, of course. Yeah. But
I didn't take that as anything.
what is the why would that, I mean, to me, I think it's amazing, and God, to find something where there's nobody doing it, sign me up for that. I don't care what what the industry is, right?
I think like for the veterinarian companies, I think what I have is that I am a veterinary technician. I know the job. I did the work myself, like going into all these. I worked for over 30 hospitals in the first year that I did it for myself. So me having that like boots on the ground, like personal experience in each hospital, and having an understanding of like how to integrate yourself into a new hospital, because I did get that question a lot of like, don't you need training? Like, how do you just walk into a hospital and do the work? And it's like, well, I've been a technician for a long time. Like, patient care is generally the same. Like, I know how to take vitals. I know how to restrain a patient for a doctor. I know how to run anesthesia. I know drugs. I know all of these things. It's just a matter of, going into these clinics. Where's your stuff? Being able to communicate effectively and ask the questions of being able to adapt to their workflows of like, how do you do it here? And making sure I'm doing it how you do it here. Even if I do know what I'm doing, it might be slightly different in each location. So I was able to coach each technician. I was able to coach each technician from a perspective that I personally had.
The ones that are working for you now, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. How long is an average? I mean, is there an average gig? I mean, is it like 2 weeks while somebody's on vacation? Is it like, 2 days, 1 day? Oh my God, we need someone to come in and cover.
Yeah, it's variable. Some utilize us for a turnover where they might have multiple shifts open for multiple weeks until they get, new hires in. So other times we do get requests for maternity leaves. So that could be 6 to 12 weeks, vacations, but generally a lot of it is turnover, just holes in their schedule, or they don't have an RVT anymore and they need somebody that can run anesthesia. So it's only on their surgery days. So the terms are really variable.
So you just created the business and went out there and hung up your shingle, made your contacts, your phone started ringing or whatever, phone, emails, whatever. And from that, what did you do? You started to bring in other people to work with you, other vet techs. Is that right?
Yeah, it was about a year that I was doing it myself, and until I realized, I had far more demands than supply of myself. And I was doing that research on like an agency or like some making it more than me, knowing that there are other technicians like me that have been in the game for a long time that would probably enjoy this. And knowing that the burnout was a big issue, that this could be an alternate path where they can create their own schedule and go work where they want to work. So I had a vision for what this could be. The SBA helped me out a lot. That's a free service. And I had a business counselor that has been with me all 5 years and has truly been amazing in helping my vision come to life.
Wow.
Yeah.
And, kind of validating my intuition on what I wanted it to be and giving me that support. So I guess, what was the question initially on?
So I'm wondering, like, what did you like? So you're out there doing it. I'm full of questions here. How did you just price it based on like you priced yourself out based on what the industry pays and that kind of thing, right?
I did, yeah. And so after the first year, and I decided I'm going for it. I had about 5 technicians that were working with me that I had as contractors as 1099. And then after that started like really working, the following year was COVID. And for and yeah, like I couldn't have predicted that, but also like the demands were so high, and
Yeah.
the word of
Yeah.
mouth of like what I was doing and the company I was creating did go, like, veterinary medicine community is so small, and word of mouth is so like wildfire, like I said.
Mm-hmm.
So by the end of 2021, I had 43 employees.
Wow.
Holy shit.
Wow. Crazy.
That's amazing.
And in early 2021, I had decided that I was going to not contract them. I wanted them to be employees. And that was, again, like I pulled different ideas from different business models that I had researched and kind of created what I saw, like what I would want as, you know, working for this kind of company as a veterinary technician. And I know that veterinary technicians, they hate taxes, right? And if I could make them employees, I could also supply them with like scrubs and pay for their CE or renewing their license. Like I wanted to create something where I could give them incentives. And if they're a contractor, you can't do that.
Okay.
Right.
So I wanted to support them.
How, okay, so it's word of mouth primarily. I mean, you are sponsoring dinners with Shane. I'm sure you go to conferences and things like that. That's how you guys know each other. To me, it's like as an owner of a clinic, of a hospital, be a great benefit to just pay you, just write you a check, and you take care of everything else, all the payroll,
liabilities
all the
are
insurance,
taken off their plate.
Yeah, yeah, that's
do you have any
hugely attractive.
Try to steal your folks with, like they say, oh my God, your folks did so good, I want to hire them. Like, do you have I'm sure it's up to the tech, but like, do you have I mean, I'm sure it happens. So, I mean, do you have a policy for that? Do you have a process for that? Like, would you let a good person go if they truly wanted to go and be an employee of that hospital?
Yeah. Even though they are employees when they work for my company, it's still a temp agency. So they can come and go as they please. You know, I have very light standards on like how many shifts per month that I need them to at least work to keep them on our platform and keep them on payroll. But there is definitely a section in the terms of agreement for the hospitals we work for that, yes, if you and the technician that I'm sending you and that works for you is good harmony, chances are you are looking to fill a position. And I feel like it's a really great benefit to non-committally have someone working for you so you can have a
like an audition
without all the onboarding process. So yes, that happens, and yes, there is an agreement in our terms about that. So
I hope you make it. I hope you make out good on it.
I mean,
because if you lose a good person, you got to get squared up good. You know.
You know what's interesting is they come back.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That you know,
there's been a couple instances, and then I have like a ethical dilemma somewhat on like, you know, is this wrong that like they took a full-time job with one of our hospitals and, you know, I bill them, you know, a certain percentage of that for the employment compensation. And then, you know, if they come back a year and a half later and they just want to do relief again, like so I asked a couple of the administrators that I work with, like, is this wrong? And they're like, this is business. I'm like,
yeah. So
okay.
So there is not is there a minimum, if they do that, if they do leave and go to be an employee of the hospital they're working at instead of with you, yeah, you're getting compensated by the hospital. Is there a minimum that you require or they require? Like, okay, well, after a year or after 6 months, then you pay me this much if they last that long, you know what I mean?
I break it up into quarters.
Yeah.
So, you know, if that employment only lasted 6 months, then I'm not going to bill them for that last quarter.
I understand. Yeah. That makes sense. I was not 100% because, I mean, we're always looking for trainers. Now our business has gone, it's been so strange. Our business blew up during COVID. Then a lot of people just decided, you know, everybody had like their life-changing moments during COVID. And a lot of people decided, I don't want to work for the man anymore. I want to do what I love doing. I want to become a dog trainer. So then suddenly there's 1 million dog trainers out there. The demand went down. So now when I'm not struggling as much as I used to when I'm looking for new dog trainers because they're all over the place. They're trained. They know what they're, you know, they kind of know what they're doing, and I can take somebody that has prior training. but Shane had brought you up to me before and
Mhm.
said, well, maybe she could help you, if she can find, she could help you find a trainer or whatever. And my understanding was that you just did staffing, like you were placement, not that they're actually working for you. Now it makes a lot more sense. I think it's
we
a
are
pretty
staffing.
awesome business.
Yep. And we like with the quality of technicians that I have on my team, there's also another level of technician that's called a VTS, and
Okay.
that's a veterinary technician specialist. So I have 4 of those on my team. So the anesthesia VTS and emergency and critical care VTS. So these technicians have gone an extra level of working under a boarded specialist. So a criticalist or an anesthesiologist, and then they have, I don't remember how many years worth, but a couple years worth of case studies, and then they have to do this very elaborate testing to go through to become a veterinary technician specialist. So we have those on our team. And Dave, who is my administrative assistant, who I met in 2021, and he's like, I want to teach for a living. And I'm like, great, let's make that happen.
I love that dude too, man. I enjoy hanging out with him.
He's so great, and everyone loves him. Everyone knows him. And he is a really great teacher and just a wealth of knowledge. So being able to recruit those types of technicians and also developing another layer of business that, I have these technicians who are experts in the field that can help train your staff. So a lot of times when we go into these clinics, there's a green staff where they're young, they maybe haven't gone to school, or they're in school or just trained on the job minimally. But the managers just don't have enough resources to train them. So we can train them as well. We've done like some consulting on workflows and SOPs and different policies. So we have other layers outside of staffing that some people aren't aware of, but that comes back to our marketing, which we've, worked on. But yeah, the level of talent that I have on my team is outstanding.
How many employees do you have now?
Currently, I have 34.
34. God,
yep.
That's insane.
That's wild.
And it ebbs and flows. And, I don't get butthurt about when people go a different path, because this is specifically for like an alternate path of, maybe you're here for a little bit of time through your transition, through your deciding. Maybe you're just here because you're wanting to supplement your income. Maybe you're just here because you don't work in veterinary medicine anymore, but you want to keep up on your skills. Like
and your first hire was 5 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. And are any of those people still with you? 5 years?
Yes, actually.
Yeah. Awesome.
3 of them are.
Yeah. That's amazing. Cool.
Excellent.
So
well, I've got a special announcement. I got to break in here for just a second.
Yeah.
We have our very first podcast sponsor, and I've got a
wow.
It's a company that, if you've seen any of my social media, you've seen their stuff all over my Facebook feed, and that is Kakalaki.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That on your feed.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm a big fan. I'm also a brand ambassador for them, which was pretty neat, because like most of the people that they have on their team are like competition grillers and barbecuers and all that stuff. I'm just cooking for me and Emily. And I just find stuff that I like. I tag it, and damn if they didn't reach out. And but over the course of that, I've become good friends with the owner of the company. And so we got to talk about Kakalaki real quick. They're hailed as the local brand with a national following. Now celebrating more than 2 decades in business, North Carolina-based Kakalaki brand is the iconic Southern lifestyle brand that specializes in Kakalaki branded sauces, snack nuts, beverages, food service, menu items, apparel, outdoor sporting goods, sponsored events, and more. The company also makes and distributes the Kakalaki Cheerwine sweet sauce, as well as the Carolina Tar Heel barbecue, which is an officially licensed collegiate product now. Kakalaki is family owned and operated and headquartered in Pittsburgh, North Carolina, and they are offering all of our listeners, all 3 of you. I'm just kidding. No. I meant the 3 of us. Now, if you go to the Kakalaki website, kakalaki.com, and put in Butt Fixer 15 at your checkout, and you will get 15% off of everything on the website. So welcome to the party, Kakalaki.
All right.
All right.
And
I got that out of
the way. They are sending product to put in our swag bag. So
Oh,
the
yeah.
people
Yeah,
that
you'll
we
be getting
do
some of their
have
stuff.
on the people that we do have on the podcast get some freebies.
Yeah, yeah. You'll get some goodies.
Yeah.
We're gonna spread the cack. All right, so let's talk about why you do it now. So we've heard how you did it. So now what are the benefits as a successful entrepreneur to be able to go and do some of the things that you thought you never could do, or goals that you've met personally? I want a little bit more insight into the drive. Where's the dangling carrot for Jacklyn?
Well, I can say I'm definitely exactly where I belong.
Yeah.
I think definitely being able to work intuitively and authentically is a drive, where it's like everything I've done has just been what I'm passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to implement that and finding people that believe in me and what I'm creating, that
Mm-hmm.
has been huge. And just, being able to work authentically without somebody over my head saying like, no, you can't do that, or that's not right, or questioning. Like, I just get to do
right
as I wish. And some of those are risky and some of those don't work out. And
sure,
that's just the name of the game. And I'm
outside of the work thing, like what are some personal things that you've been able to do for yourself? Like is it a trip? Is it a travel? Is it a certain activity? I know you like to hike a lot, I think, because you were just in Tahoe recently.
I was in Tahoe.
Yeah.
That's great.
Nice.
Yeah, I've got family in California.
Yeah. So those types of things, like because we all do this for a reason. One, we hate working for the man. We all get that, but there's also got to be me is being on the water. I want to be able to go out on the ocean or the sound or clamming or crabbing or fishing whenever the hell I feel like it, and that's one of the benefits of, doing the work and building yourself up, is you can just do what you want when you want, within reason. But like, what are some of those things for you that drive you outside of just your ambition and goals?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, well, I definitely am. I do get reward of being empowering or like supporting my team. Like, that doesn't exhaust me. But if you're talking about like, if I've rewarded myself, I'm pretty frugal. I live the same as I did 5 years ago. I did buy a car.
I know about this. I know about this. You drove right down the street I was trying to point you in, because I want to know a little bit more about that car.
Yes, and it was hard for me to feel like I had earned it or anything else. And it's not like it's a Porsche GT3 RS or anything. Like, it is a BMW. It's a 2018 M4. And I did have it modified, so
nice.
It brings me happiness to have that speed.
Don't you have a hot rod somewhere in the mix?
I wish I would have a 72 Chevelle any day.
Oh wow!
Now we've set a new goal.
I know. Yeah. No.
Next conference, I want to see you in that Chevelle.
Yeah. So I mean, I do. I love fast cars. I love like performance type cars. But yeah, I did. That was something that it was like, I'm earning a salary too. And I put a lot of work in, and I felt a little bit of like guilt about it at first, but my business counselor reminds me like of the work that's been done, like what I've created, that I tend to not look back at. I tend to be like either present or forward, like what's next, and I don't look back at where I started very often.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty cool. I've done some very. Go ahead, John. Go ahead.
I mean, well, I'm changing the subject here. I'm curious if you ever put the scrubs on anymore yourself. Have you gone out and worked in relief?
Yeah. So that was very hard for me to transition when I decided, or when it was decided, like, this needs to be an agency, because my business counselor says, in order for you to do that, you have to stop working in the clinics.
Yep.
In order to build a business, you have to suck, which meant I needed to borrow a very uncomfortable amount of money to make that happen. And so that was a lot of it's like, well, hey, wait, the whole reason I wanted to do this is because I love being in the clinics and I love being a technician, but also I have this opportunity to, do a staffing business and help other technicians. So there was a time that I was pretty consistently still in the clinics, at least weekly.
Okay.
I would say now it's maybe once a month, maybe once every couple months.
Oh,
But
really? So
my
still, you're still
my
on it.
demands as an administrator have increased, significantly. So for me to be out of the office for more than that means like business gets behind or my staff is not supported in a timely manner.
Yeah.
So I've had to really adapt and learn what my position is.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
yes, it is important to still be in the clinics.
What's your admin staff like? How many people does it take to run the day-to-day business?
Myself and Dave. And
Okay, so there's two
yeah,
of
like
you.
with the scheduling and the new hospital contracts and all of those things, like I handle a lot of that. That is also something else my business counselor reminds me, like this could be divided out, and we
Okay.
could grow much quicker. And I've never been about, growing this business quickly. It's always been about quality for me. And, going quick means losing quality in my mind. So I do have a little bit of a stranglehold on some of my duties because I fear losing quality, but then that comes back to me on like training someone to do what I do.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
are
it's
you
tough.
are you and Dave working face to face under the same roof all the time, or are you working remotely?
We work remotely. We both have
Okay.
like our home office.
Okay.
And then, we're in consistent communication throughout the week and, we have our Zoom meetings. Sometimes we go out and meet for coffee and go over
Okay.
things.
So I'm
But yeah,
getting at, can you do this job from anywhere in the world? Do you think you could?
mostly,
Yeah,
but
maybe not 365, but if you took off for a month or something, is that possible? Do you think you could
I don't
ever
think
do
so.
it?
Yeah. Taking off for a week. Dave even told me last time, he's like, every time you leave, I have a new appreciation for what you do.
Oh,
And to me, it's my day to day where I don't really think it's that stressful or that, big a deal, but it's like what I have created, right? So it comes naturally to me. But for somebody else to take it on is a lot of moving parts. So no, I don't think I could take a month off and
well,
just walk
not
away, but
off.
I
How
could
about
go
away
somewhere else and probably do the work.
and do it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I do. I was not complaining, but I mean, the last time I went off the grid was 2016 or so.
Where you mean that you like disconnected from everything?
My friend and I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. There's no internet up there. So I did that. And that was, and the time before that was when I first started the business. Went to Burning Man and there's no internet out there. But besides that, there's the earthquake. Every day is, I work every day. I mean, I work Saturdays, I work Sundays, I work, if it's evening, if the phone goes off and Shane will tell you, I mean, I'll answer it at all hours.
I'm different in that sense. Like I've always like, even when I started and I guess something that I knew from an entrepreneur side of like known to like run themselves into the ground, right? Like never take a day off and work day and night. And something I value is my health. And something that I did not want to do was run myself into the ground.
I
And
gotcha.
so I've always had very firm boundaries around, and my staff knows this too, like the chat notifications on our app is off on the weekends. Like I don't see those messages. I do not have email notifications on my phone. Like I have boundaries around that to preserve myself.
Yeah, I have a.
I'm not saying I haven't worked hard and that I haven't worked more hours than I've ever worked in my life, but I've also like kept it very condensed and I do unplug often.
So it's a good balance. I don't feel like I have that balance, but I also, to me, it's my lifestyle. It's like, it's not, yes, I'm working. I'm always working, but I don't feel like I'm working. I feel like this is just the way this is the way I live. If I'm at the gym, I'm at the gym. But if if something comes across, I can take 5 seconds and answer it. I have to answer it because I can't stand having everything piled up from overnight.
Oh, I'm definitely like anything. I try to answer everyone within a day or the day, especially Monday through Friday. And I think that is something that, I value is like quick response, and why I don't like, working in the clinics a lot, because it keeps me from being able to quickly respond.
Yeah. I mean, my assistant is, she's very disciplined, but she basically, I don't even send her a have a nice day text. I text her from 9 to 5 Eastern time, nothing on the weekends. She has a good balance, and years ago, I mean, she's been with me 11 years now. I think 11. Yeah. She set the boundaries with me and said, this is how it will work. And I take care of everything. I take care of everything else on my own.
Good.
So yeah, that's always my question. I belong to several like digital nomad communities, and everybody is looking, but there are a lot of people out there that's their dream. They're like, how can I achieve this? Where, yes, I'm still working. Yes, I'm still earning a living, but I can do it from Peru, or I could do it from wherever, so
that's when we
I
moved
think
to
technically
the beach.
you could do it. Yeah. Do it at the beach. Yeah.
I mean, that's why we moved. As soon as I got to where I didn't have to be in the day to day, and what you said earlier, Jacklyn, was very, very much how we operated as well. Is like you can't be in the business; you got to work on the business if you want to grow the business, and that is a big giant step of uncomfortability and vulnerability.
Yes.
Of trying to recreate yourself, and
expense.
I
had to, it was moving across the country from California, where I had, anywhere from 20 to 30 clients at a time. That's like crack. I mean, it's like the money is great. Every new client, but Shane and I still talk about, our unit of measurements for what we want is a dog.
How many dogs does it cost?
How many dogs will that cost to go to Aruba? Yeah. So yeah,
it's 1.5.
Yeah. So yeah, it was very hard to when my daughter's mom and I decided that we were going to make a big change and move out of San Francisco and move all the way to Delaware. There's no client. I had no clients in Delaware. It was the perfect time to kind of cold turkey stop taking clients and start working on this business, which was it was touch and go for a few years, that's for sure. But there would be no way I could do it and still run around being everybody's dog trainer, which I miss sometimes. But the reward is good, and I'm like you. I feel all the people working, they don't work for me, they work with me. I work with them. Actually, I work for them. They are all doing their dream job. They never thought that they would be able to earn a living doing what they're doing. And so I do like that. But it is hard. Just like Shane said, you gotta step away. And
it's difficult. My last stronghold was the phones.
Yeah.
I was like, I did not want to give up the phones. I was like, if I get them on the phone, I'm going to sell it. Nobody can do it as good as I can. I'm the freaking man, yada, yada, yada. And it turns out Ann is the man, the woman, because she is as good, if not better, than I ever was on the phones. And I remember, but anyway, but to get back to, it's been an amazing, we've spent a lot of time together at conferences, and we've talked a lot, and I've always admired your drive and your story and your climb, and it's still going. And, in 5 more years from now, good God only knows where you're going to be and what you're going to have accomplished. And
I'll probably sell it by then.
Well, yeah, that's
hey, see if they want a dog training company alongside of that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Sure. We'll do it. We can do a twofer.
So that is your goal. Is your goal to exit, or is your goal? I mean, what do you think what's next? How big do you think you could grow it? I mean, to me, you have a very, very scalable business.
Yes.
Of course, it all hinges on recruitment. It all hinges on finding the right people, right?
Yes, it does. And I guess I think of it as like I'm my own limiting factor. in that sense, right?
Yep.
On, where it goes, how big it gets. And again, I so much hang on to that quality. So even if there are corporate entities that would love to buy up my business and have me run it, and they could take it nationwide, like it's not, then I lose ownership as well. So there's something to be said about having 100% ownership of the company and being able to make those decisions. So as of right now, like I'm not going to entertain that. I do see, like, maybe I could retire at 50. Retire softly, meaning like I could potentially sell the business and have the lake house that I want and go do something else. Like
do something else. I was going to say, you don't strike me as a retirement type.
I'm not. I have
I see you doing something
way
else.
too much energy for that and way too much ambition.
Yeah.
But it's possible that it could be sold at that time, and that it could be way bigger than I could ever make it by myself. Right.
Okay.
But that's a soft goal.
Again, my brain is like, wow, she could like blah blah blah. I'm thinking like all of these huge things that the potential that you have.
There is a lot.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So go ahead, Shane.
Well, I was gonna say let's get it's the Butt Fixer podcast. Everybody's got a butt, so let's hear either a butt that you're struggling with, or a butt that you've overcome that you're proud of, or a butt that you see in your future. Like, where's your butt?
Where's my butt?
Where's your butt?
I think the butt was at the time of like the butt. I want to be a technician and I want to work in the clinics. In that time of like having to decide on like, do I want to run the business or be in the business? And that was the butt. That was kind of the big transitional part where I had to let go of that fear. But the risk was like, look, I am single. I don't have any dependents. Like, there was nothing to lose, because I knew that no matter what I put into it, if it didn't work out, I was going to be okay. I have, a resume full of people skills, veterinary skills. Like, I will find something else. So letting go of that fear, I guess, that, failure or it wouldn't go well, I went back to myself in knowing that I've never failed. And I've always come out on the other side. And I have so many skills that would make me an employee for anyone or doing anything else.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good butt.
I mean, you've had a couple of transitions. There's the transition of working in the hospital to working relief for yourself. And then from working relief for yourself, deciding that you're going to grow that into an actual business with employees, and the employees are working for you. Did you have, I mean, for me, it was my family. I mean, first of all, I was in the military for 8 years, and I could not, I mean, it was, I could do an hour and a half of like how much that sucked. But 8 years is a big investment. Back when I went in, it was 20. 20 give you half. 20 will give you benefits for life, half pay, everything. And I was like, I cannot do it. And my family said, what are you going to do? I said, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I can't do this anymore. And then when I came up with, I think I'm going to start a dog training business, they were like, what the fuck? Like, yeah. So I had a lot of people, now they look at me and they still say, I can't believe you did it. I can't believe it was successful. I can't believe. So did you have people, I mean, your business model seems like you could tell that to somebody, they'd say it makes perfect sense, go for it. Or did you have people that just said, are you sure? I mean, the hardest thing is not to know your paycheck is coming every 2 weeks, right? Did you have people also that were saying, no, this is like crazy. What kind of risk, you know?
I did. I did seek feedback from some key people, and that I, valued their feedback and respected their path and their opinion. My Uncle Matt was the only one that was like, why would you do that? Why would you step out of like a corporation or a company that can match your 401k and pay your health benefits and have the security? And I needed that. I needed that feedback. I needed somebody to challenged me on that side of things. Like, sure, everybody else was like, oh yeah, you can do anything, like go for it, do it, sounds great, that's awesome.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
The naysayers are the best motivators, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
and so it was worth hearing that, and I was grateful for that because it's valid.
Yeah.
Now, are you, when you recruit, you're recruiting people that are also in that safe space with and well, but now they're working for you, but they're not on salary. They're still being paid with based on their contracts, right? And
it's a risk. Yeah, it's
a risk.
If there are no shifts, they don't have work, and that's something that I'm very transparent about. Like I would say this year, like earlier this year, was a little like, oh man, we haven't had like this many shifts to not choose from. Usually they're abundant. We have far more shifts than people to fill them.
Okay.
But it is a risk for them if they are doing this as their only job.
Yeah.
It may not be a place they want to work. It may not be a place or an hours that they want or need, but that's on them, same as it's on me to take the risk.
Yeah. I mean, I've got trainers with me for 10, 11 years now, and but when I look for new ones, I wouldn't be here. They wouldn't be contacting me if they didn't already have a rosy picture of what they thought it could be like. And I have to give them several reality checks before I say, okay, let's do it. Because if they don't go in with their eyes open, you're going to have a very disillusioned person on your hands, which is that's more of a nightmare than just not having anybody, So, so I was curious about that too. So it's those things are similar for sure.
They are.
For sure.
Very much.
Well, I think what do you got, Shane?
Well, I was going to say, just tell everybody how they can find you.
Yeah.
If a vet listens to this and are interested in contacting you, how to or other people in the vet business, how do they find you?
Our website is actionvettechs.com.
ActionVetTechs.
And then our Facebook and Instagram, Action Vet Tech Services.
Where'd you come up with the name?
So Action is a leadership type word that, I connected. Also, Action Jacklyn is my email.
Oh,
yeah.
That's pretty cool.
But I do associate action with like leadership, and it does speak to our work ethic of self-starting and good communicators and being able to integrate. So I wanted that in there, and it puts us at the top of any listing with the
AC.
Also very smart.
On our any conference that we're going to, all the vendors that are listed, I'm at the top. So
very smart. I did a slight version of that. I used to, before I had the ability to do so, like the biggest thing I ever had was wrapping one of my vehicles years ago, and I would go purposely shop at like places I could not afford and I would park my car at the very entrance of the parking lot and walk my ass all the way to the store just because every car that came in while I was in that store had to see my car, well, damn, we need a dog trainer. There it is right there.
Yeah. No, Shane, like you
are. I'm like, the people at Food Lion or people at Harris Teeter. I'm gonna park at Harris Teeter.
Yeah. Hands down, Shane is like a marketing genius in so many ways. Like I definitely look up to you, and I like marketing is like I'm a no on that. Like I have to hire somebody to do the marketing. I'm just like I have zero interest in it, but I always admire like you are always next level marketing.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
It was just I'm next level allergic to punching a time clock. So some of those skills become necessities and you just figure it out. But it's my favorite part is just being creative. I mean, like especially. And
let's be honest, you like the attention.
Hell yeah.
He loves the attention.
Bring it on. He
wants to perform.
That's for sure.
Hey, why do you think I'm sitting under my own spotlight in my sprinter van? I got my own little spotlight right there.
Yeah, we are not the same in that way. Me, like attention, I was like, no, look the other way.
Right. Look at me. Yeah.
Well, thank
awesome.
you a ton for coming on. I think I emailed you the little housekeeping thing. Make sure your audio uploads, and when I put this out there, I'll throw your website on the.
I appreciate it. Yeah,
on the
yeah, we're on
description.
LinkedIn too. So
Okay,
yeah,
and
whatever you
I'll
wanna
be in
tag.
touch maybe for I got a good bio in mind, but I'll touch base with you for a little synopsis that I can pick from. Okay.
Yeah,
So
appreciate you guys.
thank you for the time. That was super interesting.
Yes.
I learned a lot. That's for sure.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I knew a lot about you already. I still learned some stuff. We could do this again and again and again.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you
Don't forget to
much.
leave your computer open until the thing says you're good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You'll get a message that says when you see you're uploaded, then you can close out your stuff. Or not. Like the next podcast we're doing we're having to do it for the second time.
Yeah.
Because his phone died.
Yeah.
Oh no.
And we lost a whole hour interview with it. So we're doing him at 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Guys.
Well,
all right. Thanks a lot, Jacklyn. I appreciate you.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this edition of the Butt Fixer Podcast. Stay tuned for more guests, more stories, and more butt fixes. Make sure you click like, subscribe, and follow at all of the places where you stream podcasts.